Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into the 7 psychological rules that really separate the winning traders from everyone else. And look, this isn't about some secret formula. It's about mastering the one thing that trips up almost everyone, your own mind. Okay, let's just get right to the heart of it. So many people jump into the markets thinking it's some kind of shortcut to getting rich quick. But the single biggest difference between success and failure, it isn't your strategy, it's your mindset. The hard truth is, most new traders get wiped out by the 2 most powerful forces in finance, plain old fear and greed. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll talk about the battlefield inside your own head. Then we'll cover the rules for survival and growth. And finally, we'll get into what it takes to achieve true mastery. Let's start with the most important battle of all. See, before you can even dream of winning against the market, you absolutely have to win the war that's happening inside your own mind. If you can get this part right, everything else starts to fall into place. And this right here, this perfectly captures that massive gap between what people think trading is and what it actually is. We all get sold this dream, right? Financial freedom, easy money. But the reality? It's a brutal, non-stop test of your discipline, your emotions, and your ability to manage risk. All right, let's move on to what is maybe the most critical part for any trader, defense. Because before you can even think about making money, you have to learn how to survive. These first 3 rules, they're designed for one thing and one thing only, to keep you in the game. And this pretty much says it all. This is the first and most sacred rule. You have got to protect your capital at all costs. I mean, think about it. If you run out of capital, the game is over. Period. You can't trade. Profit comes way later. Survival always comes first. You know, your capital isn't just some number on a screen. It's the real, tangible result of your hard work, your savings, your dreams. I love this analogy of a tree. If the roots are strong and protected, that tree can handle any storm. But if those roots are weak, even a tiny gust of wind can knock the whole thing over. Rule number 2 is all about simple math, not your feelings. Your potential reward has to be way bigger than your risk. And remember, you can only control one side of this whole equation, your risk. That's the amount you decide you're willing to lose. The reward, that's just a goal. If you get this ratio right, you can actually be wrong more often than you're right and still come out profitable. Okay, let's talk about your most important tool, which brings us to rule number 3, the stop loss. A stop loss is not an option. It is a non-negotiable lifeline. It's like being a deep-sea diver. You wouldn't go down without an oxygen tank, right? Well, that's your stop loss in the crazy, unpredictable ocean of the market. But a stop loss does something even more important than just limit your financial loss. It's like an invisible shield that protects you from your own ego. It forces you to admit you are wrong, to take a small, manageable loss right away and just move on. It prevents that one single catastrophic trade that could wipe you out completely. All right, so with our defenses locked in, now we can start to shift to offense. These next couple of rules are all about how to stop fighting the market and start working with it to build some real momentum. Rule 4 is beautifully simple. The trend is your friend. I mean, trying to fight the market trend is like trying to swim against a powerful river current. You're just going to burn all your energy, get exhausted, and you're still going to lose. But if you turn around and swim with that current, the flow just carries you forward, almost effortlessly. And now for Rule 5. This one is probably the most difficult one for people to master. You have to become absolutely ruthless in controlling your emotions. This is not a game of feelings. It's a game of logic and calculation and cold, hard strategy. And this just lays it all out, doesn't it? The market itself is neutral. It doesn't know you exist. It doesn't care about you. Your real enemies are all internal. Fear and greed are the 2 giants you have to slay every single day. They cloud your judgment. They make you do stupid things. If you can conquer yourself, conquering the market gets a whole lot easier. Okay, let's get to our final set of rules. These are all about professionalism. These are the habits and the processes that separate the amateurs and the gamblers from the real pros, the ones who build long-term sustainable success. Rule 6 is dead simple. Every single trade you make has to come from a logical, predefined plan, not some emotional impulse. An impulse is just a gamble, born from a sudden hit of excitement or fear. A plan, on the other hand, is born from analysis, and that is what leads to consistency. So how do you know if you're planning or just gambling? Well, here's your test. Before you even think about clicking that button, you have to have crystal clear answers to these 3 questions. If you can't say exactly why you're entering, where you're getting in, and where you're getting out, you are not trading, you are gambling. It is that simple. And that brings us to our 7th and final rule. Trading is a never-ending journey of growth. The market is always changing, always evolving, and guess what? So must you. This isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a continuous cycle of trading, reviewing how you did, learning from your mistakes, and constantly evolving your strategy. Now, this is such a critical mindset shift. If you actually learn from a losing trade, if you figure out what went wrong and how you're going to avoid it next time, then it wasn't a loss at all. It was just tuition you paid to the market for a valuable education. But if you don't learn from it, yeah, then it's just money down the drain. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. Let's bring all 7 of these rules together so we can see the complete picture, the powerful, disciplined mindset that a winning trader has to have. It really all comes down to these 7 unbreakable rules. Look, these aren't magic tricks. They're the fundamental pillars that can take your trading from just a game of chance and turn it into a professional business. And here they are, all together. This is the trader's code. By protecting your capital, managing your risk, always using a stop loss, following the trend, mastering your emotions, planning every single move, and constantly evolving, you fundamentally change your entire relationship with the market. You stop being a gambler, and you start becoming a professional. And ultimately, it all boils down to a choice. Will you be a slave to your emotions, just getting jerked around by fear and greed, letting the market decide your fate? Or will you become its friend, partnering with it through discipline, logic, and a solid plan? The choice is entirely yours.